Hi everyone, I'm Father Scott Vanderveer, and I'd like to ask, have you ever noticed that in your life, no matter how strong your belief in God is, God has never rescued you at the last moment from a natural consequence? Maybe you'd say, no, actually, Father, I do have a story about being rescued by God. And I think it would be good for us to acknowledge that there are, in any pattern in life, exceptions to the pattern. And that's what a miracle is. A miracle is when we can't explain why something worked out so beautifully, so gracefully, so wonderfully. But we know that there was a guiding force behind that. We can feel it, those of us who've experienced that. Well, what I'm asking about today is, have you noticed how rare it is for us to be rescued from situations or outcomes? It's been noticed by many people throughout time that you don't seem to get a guarantee that you're going to have a better life if you're a believer than if you're not. That can feel really frustrating. It can actually cost people their faith. They say, what kind of a God doesn't care about the people who are most involved in worshiping and serving God? Why would we be so devoted to someone who appears not to be devoted to us? But the way that God is devoted to us is something worth thinking about. Because God does not rescue us from situations in life. God does something much more big picture, much larger, much more revolutionary. God does not rescue us. God did not rescue Jesus. Jesus said to God, the Father, the night before Good Friday, in the Garden of Gethsemane, Father, please, let this cup pass by me. Please, Father, don't make me drink from this cup. But not my will. Don't do what I say. Do what is best. Whatever your will, let that be done. That is a powerful prayer said by one who's teaching us God does not rescue us from Good Friday. God does not rescue us from the difficult and painful and sometimes excruciating outcomes of life. God doesn't rescue us. God redeems it all. God is a redeemer, not a rescuer. God is with us through it, and when the storm passes by, God is with us to pick up the pieces, to sort through the rubble, and to help us recognize that while we may have lost things we'll never get back, we have always gained something after surviving a Good Friday or a hurricane in life. There is no way for us to base our faith on God's willingness to protect us from the worst things that could happen. Because if that were the case, then that would mean that tornadoes and hurricanes and disasters, car accidents, floods, all sorts of cataclysms are a punishment, are a consequence. It would be like saying the people of Ukraine had it coming, or the people of some very poor island country somehow deserve what they're getting. There are people who will say that because they're deeply uncomfortable with anybody daring to question, why doesn't God rescue us? And so they will, in a misguided attempt to defend God, say, God did. God's rescuing you from injustice by giving you a punishment you deserve for a crime you didn't know you committed. But that really doesn't hold up. It doesn't hold up to our experience of God. It doesn't hold up to the scriptures. It doesn't make sense. Jesus said, misfortune is not a punishment for sin. Misfortune is an opportunity for God's glory to shine. And God's glory could shine through a miraculous rescue. But we're here to say that that happens rarely. That's why it's a miracle. The way God usually works is the way God worked on Good Friday, redeeming the situation, comforting us. God doesn't hand us assignments for us to try to deal with and handle. God helps us handle the assignments that life gives us. There are many, many ways that the ways of God will remain mysterious to us. There are very few things that we can know for sure about the workings of life that is so much bigger than we are. But we can know from the scriptures, from our experiences, and from the life of Jesus that God does not prefer to swoop in and save us from the natural consequences of our actions or the perils of being human. God instead is with us, not rescuing us or rescuing us very rarely, but instead redeeming the situations that we have. God is not a rescuer, God is a redeemer. And the life of Christ and the teachings of Christ let us know that very clearly. May you be willing with me to deal with the disappointment of not receiving the rescues that we would really prefer to have. May we be able to allow God to be God and for us to not understand many of these things until the day that we go to heaven. And may we be allowing of life to unfold as it does, asking only for the serenity to accept the things we can't change, courage to do what we can, and wisdom to know the difference. May God bless you all.